Welcome again. This is Brother G coming to you again with another video message, another video teaching. Immersion or sprinkling, or immersion. That is whether the Catholic Church sprinkle on you as a sign or symbolic gesture of baptism, or the many other churches, especially what they call the charismatic church. Obviously, I'm from the charismatic church. Don't really know what that mean. Meaning they really charismatic. They're nice. Okay, I'm not gonna look for. Anyways, so most of the charismatic churches, which believes in water baptism, the physical immersion of a person, and said they are born again. Of course, as you read the text, the biblical text, it shows you say it could be term or symbolic as born again or rise from the grave. In either term, they use it in vice versa, born again or rise from the dead, which is the same, as I understand it, the same symbolic meaning. So today, this video, our video message, where me go name it the Facts Supper, as in the Lord's Supper. I'm gonna name this video the Facts Supper, not the Lord Supper. Especially we are in a time of the Christian Lent. Don't know what that means. The 40 days of eating fish and bread. Maybe that's a Catholic kind of thing, which later in a couple of years, I realized even the church that I was attending do a type of 40 days kind of cleansing. They did something like that. And it remind me of the Jesus text when it says they clean the outside and the inside is not cleansed. It remind me of that because, everybody, me too. I know I do. I'm not. Everybody like rituals. Everybody like to put on a show. Even the New Testament talk about they make an outward showing of being righteous, but inwardly they are dead man bones. And it's talking about that spiritually. Anyways, so this really is Facts Supper, especially we are in the time of the Lord's Supper. And some will be eating the Lord's Supper, Lent, Easter, and all kind of thing. Anyways, so this on the heels of with a sprinkling or immersion, I said my natural conscience or God-given conscience say sprinkling look easier to me. Nobody not tell me, and they know too. Sprinkling, because you can just get some water. I don't know if this is the process. You could just get some water, pray over the water, and just sprinkle it on people and say, lo and behold, you are baptized. But as most of the charismatic church, they have to find a large body of water to do the immersion, because they believe that if you are fully baptized in Jesus' name, you will be filled, or you will be born again, or you would rise from the grave. But there is no such thing. No sprinkling, nor fully immersion in river water, Jordan water, sea water, salt water will ever make you clean. It's the inward. Everybody, well, I should say everybody know this. Me and Johnny come lately. But anyways, let's get into it's a sub-heading of sprinkling or immersion. The sub-heading, sprinkling or immersion. But the topic of this video teacher is the Facts Supper. Whether you want to drink it or whether you want to eat it. Now, this is from the written words that was given to us are forced upon us. May I go use it and show you, say, it's not the physical baptism. Rather, it's the spiritual baptism. 1 Corinthians 10:1. Now, a little backstory, just a real life. The people them, when you read 1st and 2nd Corinthians, and many other letters to certain churches and the Ephesians, these are eloquent, learned people. If you read it clearly, these are not ignoramus. These are Greek leaders, Latin leaders, by language I'm saying, Hebrew leaders, those are the most prominent of voices that here. They were really learned. I think they went to the school of Athens because there's a lot of reference to, Roman and the Athenians and stuff like that. You hear, so these guys are learned. So you have to understand that. So when Paul talked to the Corinthians, these are not ignoramus, people who are just like me, right? Don't know Spanish or no big language, right? These are eloquent, high, so as we would have said modern time, they are in the top notch of people, right? So 1 Corinthians 10 verse 1, let's read this. Moreover, brethren, that means him say some things where you want to read already. So he must say, moreover, or more than what I just said a while ago. Moreover, brethren, I would not that he should be ignorant. But these are eloquent people. Ima call him no want them to be ignorant. Anyways, how that all our fathers were under the cloud and all passed through the sea. Now, tradition need to be changed. And of course, when a better come, wisdom say, if a better come, if it change to the better. So tradition can change. Of course, tradition can change. Especially when you look back on tradition in hindsight, and you say, wait, this not produce no real change. So tradition, God give us the power to change things in our life to better. Because if you plant a tree and you say the tree now grow, or you plant the tree so that the sun can't hit it, or rain can't hit it, and you can't get some what do you call it, fertile ground or whatever. You have to kind of replant the tree, dig it up and put it somewhere else because you want to see the tree in its full measure. That's what you want. That's just wisdom. So tradition can't change. Anyways, so here's one of the tradition. Paul said to these Corinthians people, said the fathers them. Him never say mothers. Him said the fathers. Obviously, Paul is masculine, and I said the fathers them. How the fathers them walk underneath the cloud and pass through the sea. Now, everybody I believe, especially it's a movie coming at the thing now, everybody I talk say this is real. But this is not real. You see Paul believes say this is all of this are spiritual things. And that me depend now. I be a spiritual things. But even some people say them are spiritual, not really spiritual. But anyways. So Paul said all of the fathers them walk underneath the cloud and walk through the sea. What that mean? Alright, I'm not going to get into that. But you can see Paul say plainly say this is spiritual. And this is to clarify say even the baptism that the charismatic them do today should be spiritual. Not actually. It's not actual baptism you forgot through. Not physical. That's washing the outside and the inside not transform yet. Not sprinkling of water. Because you can see, say you can sprinkle water as much as you want and do the Christian crusades. So no matter how much you sprinkle the water, it not transform the inside. No matter how much you baptize a person, it not transform the inside. You do like what the New Testament say, we are wash the outside and we are cleanse the outside and we fix up the outside. Not just the word, but the church I do it too. We are fix up the outside, but the inside not transform. And that be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind and prove the thing if the thing is right. Anyways, let's go in. So now every one of us believe in the myth of walking through actually seawater and the seawater open up, or actually walking through the cloud. These are spiritual analogies to show you say the man them is underneath a type of law, codes, or statute. Verse 2. And all were baptized under Moses. And all were baptized unto Moses in the cloud and in the sea. Now, what does this mean? That all of the fathers were baptized into Moses in the cloud and in the sea. Now, I'm just going to give you a small snippet of the understanding, which is plainly written there. They didn't walk through the Red Sea as the movie depicts. They didn't walk through the Red Sea. Not so. And all of us are walking under the cloud. These are spiritual, mental, psychological analogies of people that walk underneath a particular type of law, codes, stature. Even if you read the psalmists, they talk about laws and codes and stature. These is what they were baptized into. Now, when you do these particular laws and statute, not rituals, laws, go read the psalmist when he said, train up the child in the way he should go, and when he go older, he will not depart. Then if you look into the Old Testament and you come back to the New Testament, you understand when as a child, you're supposed to hang the law and the prophet around children's neck because it's a spiritual understanding. So what you want to fill the children's neck mind with is a spiritual law, how they should order their life, right? So when it's around their neck, it's symbolic of they being led by a spirit. Now, how would a child be led by a spirit? Is if they are taught by their parents or even the church, as it seems. So when a child is being led, even an adult child, they have to. It's harder for the adult child because they are more stubborn, because they figure that, listen, I'm older, so I can't be led. But that's not true. So the spiritual law supposed to be hang around the neck, not an actual chain as you see, but a spiritual law so that they can be led by the spirit of facts and truth. I said it in my previous video. So if you sprinkle a baby or you baptize a child, it's not going to do them anything. But if you train them up in the right way from as early as possible, even before 2 years old, this is the spiritual law that you should baptize them underneath. If, of course, the fathers actually walk under the clouds and through the sea, which is a spiritual metaphor for challenges. And we can look at that in more specifically. But the understanding here is a spiritual law, a spiritual understanding you must be baptized in. So now in this season of the righteous Lent of eating and preparing yourself for the Lord's Supper, we should actually prepare ourselves for the facts supper. Because the facts is clear that it is not physical immersion, but a spiritual immersion. Again, this is not the Lord's Supper we should be preparing for, but the facts supper we should be preparing for. And again, tradition can change if a better comes. Corinthians 10 verse 3, and he says then, and all eat the spiritual food. Corinthians 10, 3 and 4. And all did eat the same spiritual food. And did all drink the same spiritual drink. For they drink of that spirit and of the rock. Eat of the same spiritual food and that rock. And it says here, and the rock was Christ. Now, many people which I just learned a few years ago, when it says Christ here, you forgot that he's talking about things which are spiritually, and they are spiritually discerned. So when people read this now and they read said it says Christ, they believe that Jesus was living in the time of Moses up to this present time. How is that possible for a physical being, a physical man like me and you should be living from Moses' time? And according to scholars and learned men and philosophies and theologians, them say between Malachi and Matthew, it's 400 years. Me don't know if that is true. So we can calculate, and if we even go to the book of Matthew and we see the generation, it says 1260 years, if that's true. All right, but that's what the text said. So between Malachi, just let's use let's use so we understand a little bit about math. Let's just show them so we understand just a little bit about math. And show you say this can't be true according to how them interpret this. Anyways, let's show them so we understand a little bit of math. And we went to college too, and we learn a little bit of the system, and we realize that something now fall right. Anyways, so the theologian and the right and the men them, the learned men them, and the eloquent men themselves, between from Malachi, the end of the Old Testament, to Matthew, 400 years. All right. So we add just like 200 or 300 years to that. So you want to tell me a physical man like me? So when time Moses them a walk through the cloud and the fathers them a work underneath the cloud according to the biblical text with them force pan we are give to us. So between that time, say about 6, 7, 800 years, that Jesus was walking behind them up until the time he was presented to Israel. You want to say one physical, natural man was walking? No, come on, no. Here again, if you look at the text, it says, and all did all eat the same spiritual meat, and did all drink of the same spiritual rock. The man might talk spiritual things, Rasta. That talk physical things. And again, as me learn from all them other the English language, Christ here is just a title. So in retrospect, and you look on the thing, are really Moses are the Christ, because Moses come with the information and all baptized unto Moses. So Moses was the Christ. Elijah is a type of Christ. Christ mean messenger of truth. Our Christ is just a title. So really what the Matar writer say, Moses was the Christ. We never hear that. Why am I laughing, yo? Moses are the Christ. And the spiritual rock with them where follow them in how we would say it if a spiritual things we are saying. Because Moses was the mediator between the fathers them and even Aaron. Because of him get the information, and him went to the school of Egypt and start learn them ways, and start learn of understanding, and start learn how to write, and start learn how to read. So Moses was the mediator, right? So when we understand that, and we come to this point where you say Christ here, is really Moses in this context would be the Christ, even if them said the spiritual rock was following them. We can say it was God, but then Jesus said God is a spirit. So anybody can be a Christ, really. Anybody can be a prophet, really. But if the problem becomes, are they a true prophet of God? That's what it comes down to. Let's not lose the essence of this facts supper according to the biblical text. Let's not lose the essence. And then as we are following on the heels of the message of whether it's sprinkling or immersion, the reality suggests our wisdom scream aloud, say, and when I do is not the ritual that transform a person. It's your conscience, it's your mind, and what you are being taught and what you experience. That is what transform your mind and make your mind renewed. So the spiritual rock is, the spiritual rock in this context was Moses. And the spiritual rock, which is Christ, is the message, is the truth. It's impossible for drink from Moses' table and then now drink according to the text, Jesus' table. It's almost impossible because you have imbibed so much of Moses' teaching that when time the new come now according to the New Testament, that Jesus said this, Jesus said this. When the new come, and this is before us, it's really old for us. And me and Johnny come lately, so it's kind of new for me, but not really. Anyways, so it's difficult for those who are drink from Moses' table for immediately get up and start drink from Jesus' table. It's going to be hard for them. First, them have got to change the table, and them have got to change the food where they on that table. And then when time Jesus now, our Jesus disciples, our student now, our Jesus prophet them now, come for feed them new food, them are gonna refuse it. Them are gonna say them no want to eat no Jesus food because the new already did come. When you read the text, the new already come. We late. So when you read the Bible, it's not that the Bible is present. No, the Bible is before you. So the understanding where we are getting now is late. So again, people who are eat from Moses' table are gonna have a hard time for eat from Jesus' table and so forth and going on and going on. Because again, the type of food that they used to eat and from Moses' table, when Jesus come now and move that food and say, here, me I give you a new food, them are gonna refuse it. Them are say, we don't want them kind of food, them and that food that we eat. And I've seen it and I've heard it. So really, these are spiritual things, and all those theologians and eloquent man who said Christ was walking behind Moses, they don't even understand their very own words. That Christ in this sense is a spiritual message, is a spiritual leader, which Moses were at the time, but the better has already come. Not that the better just come, but the better already before my existence come. Anyways, we're going to use the last verse. 1 Corinthians 10 verse 5 of the Facts Supper, not the Lord's Supper. Says, but with many of them God was not well pleased, and for they were overthrown in the wilderness. Now again, we are talking about spiritual things. Of eloquent man, theologian, scholar say God a murderer, and they would read a verse like this and take it out of context, without first searching and looking through their experience and understanding what it means when it says, it seems like it said God overthrew them. Well, the God that I serve or think about or believe in, the spiritual God, he will not overthrow me, but that's what they believe. Even those who drink or eat from Moses' table believe that God overthrew them. And reading some of the places in the New Testament, it seems like they say God will overthrow them and God will send strong delusion. Not the God that I serve will never send strong delusion. These are teaching me too. My God not send me strong delusion. My God not send me no confusion of any sort. These are sent by devious men who are looked upon as gods. They are the ones that sends delusions and confusion, not the idea of my God. I believe like what the psalmist says, this particular psalmist. He said, the Lord is my light and my salvation, or the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley, and so on forth. That's my belief of God. So anytime you're led in the path of wickedness or evil or pit, that's men ideas. Men concept is leading you down that. Go read this particular part where Paul talk about to Timothy, oh, men will become evil and they will catch women and lead them with various lust and sins. It's men, not God. Men who like Moses, not Moses, because I don't want to offend. Men who like Moses, who are the mediator between wisdom, laws, and concept, they are the ones who are like a type of Christ, who create devils or create such to lead people astray. Read this verse carefully. It did not say a God killed them, a God killed backsliders. God no kill backsliders. It's the devil and his idea and his henchmen that kills backsliders. Him catch them and lead them down the wrong path and kill them, and you believe say it's God. That's God. God is a spirit. So it's that when you really walk into the wisdom and the spirit of God, the devil can't kill you. I mean, him can't kill you. Not like that. Not naturally. Not those things. But when you read this carefully, they were overthrown because they were tempted by the devil and led astray by evil men and seducers, like a Balaam. Some people say Balaam wasn't a prophet. That's not true. Balaam was a prophet. Even the Egyptians, them have 400 symbolic soothsayers. They were prophet. They just The people who wrote the Bible, they were just trying to make a distinction from prophet and seers and say, oh, those guys are evil prophet, but in truth, they are prophet. Moses was a prophet. Elijah was a prophet. Why? Because a prophet, if you look at the basic understanding of what a prophet is somebody who, as Jesus would call it, them said Jesus would call it, it was wisdom springing up out inside of them. They were understanding certain concept and ideas. And so they become the mediator between the spirit of what they understand and to the people that don't understand. That's just basically it. So, not to lose the essence of what we are talking about, because I go on tangent to show other idea how it mix in this, how these ideas substantiate the idea, say it's not sprinkling or it's not physical immersion, but it's the immersion of the spirit. And especially now, look at our children. I mean, look at them. They are all, most of them is now being led astray. So there need to be godly fathers that are risen up to teach now for the next generation. You know, that's for another message. So basically, did God kill them backsliders there in the wilderness? Did God kill these people, these nomads in the wilderness? Or did the world deceive them and they could not grow? Basically, the world deceive us. In one essence, it says the world weary them. In the Old Testament, they call weary them, and truth be, facts be told. The world can weary your blouse and skirt, weary you down, make you just walk from everything and just start live any old way. And that's what happened to those people. God didn't kill them. God is, if we use the idea that God is a spirit, then the devil also is a spirit. And him can come in with his fake analogies, fake metaphors, fake ideas, and lead people down astray. And them get weary and them just live any old kind of way. So that's really the devil coming to kill, steal, and destroy. It's a type of understanding, a type of concept that come in and confuse us and make us walk and can't grow. So basically, that's what it means. So the idea of even baptism and the idea that in the season of Lent and the idea of the season of the Lord's Supper, which is truly or factually the facts supper, we can change tradition if you're willing. If you're willing. Because the tradition, it depends upon the children. Look upon the children, them not just in the world, but also looking at the church. The facts, the next generation need the spirit of truth for hang round them neck. Not just a chain, not just a gold chain or many chain. It's a spirit. It's not the actual gold chain for wear around the neck. The actual gold that you're supposed to wear around the neck is the spirit and truth of what are of God, if you want to say it like that. That's the actual gold chain. The actual gold chain that you should be wearing around your wrist and your hand and your ankle is the spirit of truth. Not the actual gold chain that you wear on. So I don't have to wear gold chain or gold neck because I know say it's a spiritual things. You're supposed to hang the spirit of truth around your neck. You're supposed to put the spirit of truth around your wrist. The spirit of truth around your ankle. So we are hearing or seeing the spirit, and everybody want to wear physical necklace and everything like that. But that's not the message. The message is the spirit of truth. What you do should be led by the spirit of truth.